I got really, really sick trying to force and control and manipulate my way through everything.
It is such ingrained to just look at life as this scary thing, or to learn how to survive.
I fell in love with the pain in this very strange sort of way, because you cannot run from it. You just get to the point where you're so weak and you're just so done. There are no other options but to trust God.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Enheartened. And I am excited about this conversation for reasons that I don't even know. So I'm going to take you with me on a ride. Today, I am with Erin. If I'm butchering your name, please correct me. From what I understand, it should sound like Erin Gunzelman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first time I read it, I was just like, when I read it like Gunzelman, it feels like more...
Yeah.
Like instead of gun, like more. Anyways,
that's what it translates to. Warrior, like the root of it is like warrior, protector, or defender. Yeah,
I love it.
Gunzelman. Yeah, thank you. Likewise,
you just feel that energy. You're just like, like give me a bow, an arrow, an axe, or something. Like I need a weapon. Give me a sword.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, to everyone just tuning in, I don't know how to introduce Erin. The word that comes to mind is really, to me at the very least, how I perceive your energy is that of, I want to say, an honest seeker. And that's one of the things that I respect the most. Devotion to truth is something that I sensed and that I continue to see when I enter your universe, the things you talk about, even deep into the metaphysical stuff. And also devotion to truth. I suppose somebody needs to have some of that to be an intelligence analyst. What would you say?
I'd say I'd hope so, but yeah, whether that's the case is, yeah.
So if you were, I'm gonna open the door for you to basically introduce yourself in whatever way that feels most meaningful. If you were to introduce Erin to somebody just finding out about you right now, what would you say?
Oh, goodness. It gets slippery when we start talking about truth, yeah, because there's little T truth and big T truth, and there's all sorts of interesting things. And in the same vein, I think the way that I move through reality can be perceived, I think, as quite elusive. We were talking before we recorded, like, what's this girl? What's she saying? What, I don't know why, but I want to talk to her. That is like a very common thread I notice when I'm interacting with people, especially new people. And it's because I do tend to move like outside the confines of 3D physical reality. And there are a lot of reasons for that, I think. But I come from this very structured systems background. And like you mentioned, I was an intel analyst for the US government for a little while. And the way I introduce myself every time varies. It depends on the energy in the room and what I'm picking up on energetically and what I lead with and what comes up. So I used to do pattern of life analysis when I worked for the government. I was tracking how systems actually behave versus how they're supposed to behave. Again, getting back to that truth conversation. But these days, I call myself like a spiritual operative these days because, like I work for God, essentially, is how I describe it. It's like that is who I'm in conversation with constantly. Every step of my day is like a little prayer. At least that's how I've set it up to be. And now I see myself more as like a metaphysical systems thinker. I'm thinking about all of these myths and psychology, lived experience, all this. I'm really interested in how truth reorganizes systems, whether that's internal or interpersonal or societal. I think we live in a fractal holographic universe, and the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I think it's all connected. It's all, So yeah, I don't think I ever changed skills because I learned these skills in childhood. This isn't like I got trained as an Intel analyst and like that's who I credit my pattern recognition skills with. It's
Yeah.
was survival for a long time. And so yeah, not a change of skills, just a change of scale, the way that I now apply it to the way I'm moving through this lived experience, this physical reality. Yeah.
I love that so much. And, I want to pursue that thread of curiosity around what you're picking up at the moment. In
Ah,
your, you know, um, I want to even push it. It's like, let's say you were to do a little pattern analysis of this stranger on the internet, meaning me, that you
yeah.
just met right now. This is
Mhm.
all very first interaction. And also what you're picking up about what wants to emerge in this moment.
Oh.
I feel like yeah, I want to go with that. What comes up for you?
It's interesting. Yeah, because you're very attuned also to frequency and unseen realms. No one's ever said to me, "Oh, I've been hanging out in your energy all day," kind of trying to feel into this. But that's something I do constantly, and it's the way I move through everything. Like I just, well, I talked to you while I was in Egypt, and then I literally time traveled. I hopped on the other side of the world, literally like a few days before I left. I bought a plane ticket and said, "I need to go to Bali." And when I got to Bali, a friend of mine was doing a breathwork teacher training. And so for the last 10 days, literally just ended yesterday, I've been in this nest of, the womb of Bali, this like darkness, this emergence. And it's so interesting, like when these things occur and happen, it's no accident to me. Like there are no accidents. You can't straddle two worlds where some things are accidents and coincidence and then some things aren't. It's either like it all is or none of it is. And so what I'm picking up on, I mean, it's a little tricky because like I told you, I've just been I've respected your work and I admired the things that you share and the way that you distill really complex systems into truth and just like laser cut things. I knew that this was going to be, I guess all of that to say, I knew this was going to be um, maybe a bit of a challenging sort of like an edge for me, like because like the questions elevate when everybody's sensing things. Like I've gotten goosebumps like 3 times while you're talking. Every time, like, oh, that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna probably talk more about that. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to here part of me wants to um here's what I'm perceiving. I feel like I'm being read, and I just want the reading to to be aired.
That's how
What?
I feel too. Yes. And so to be seen, that's really
Yes.
what I'm hinting at. It's like it's not every day to encounter someone who can see right through your mask because we're all really wearing a lot of masks. Sometimes we know what they are and sometimes we don't. And that's the whole point. We're here to learn and, peel those layers back and have a lot of compassion and love for ourselves and one another in that process and learn how to set boundaries and discern. It's a tricky conversation. It gets very slippery because yes, we all come from one source and we're all from the all knowing. I've been thinking so much about this, the myth of Isis and Ra. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little while. Yeah, I would love that. But we come here and there is illusion and there's separation and how do we navigate that and what is it becomes a consciousness conversation and that's essentially what I was picking up on. I'm like, okay, I feel unprepared, but I don't plan anything in my life. Like that podcast I did with Alex Zach. I mean, literally the week before, he's like, could you swing it next week? I'm like, yeah, I'm somehow wide open. Let's go. Like, that's how I approach everything because we don't know what is going to happen. Now is the only thing that exists. And speaking of these myths, it's like we now have quantum physics that translates all of this. Like they were speaking in symbols. And yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, I feel very seen. And that's why I knew it was going to be an edge because I was like, this guy is going to understand what I'm saying. I often get accused of like speaking in circles.
Hmm.
She makes no sense. And she's, Erin's so weird. I mean, those are the stories I picked up my whole life. Right.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm not speaking to your mind. Like I know, I know I don't make any sense because I'm
Yeah.
trying to land in your body. And
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes that makes me look crazy to a world that is very logical and
Yeah.
structured.
Yeah. I have this
Yeah.
weird question, which is, how have you reconciled with being human? Oh, how are you what is the journey? Let me not assume. Let me not assume. What is the journey for you of reconciling with being human? Because from what I'm perceiving, it feels like mystical language has just been like first language, and
Yeah.
or energetic language has been first language. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And like normal language, human interactions, day to day, like dealing with being human. Um, it feels like that has been,
A complete struggle. Yes.
yeah. So, I want you to say more on that. What is it? What
Okay.
comes up for you when you hear this?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being totally honest, it's been challenging, like really hard. I feel like it's been recent that I've only gotten a handle on it. My whole
Hmm.
life, it was very much, yeah. I mean, I think I was sensing, feeling, and all sorts of things,
Hmm.
stuff, navigating reality in a different way that the people around me were used to or programmed or however you want to think about that.
Yeah.
And it always felt very dense and heavy. And from as far back as I can remember, I've been like being like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, what the fuck is this? This is the best we could do. Like, that has been my constant sort of truth. And as I have, matured and aged and gotten to participate and engage with all of the things we've created in this physical reality, it's just gotten stronger and louder. And now I've reached the point where I think I've cleared away enough of the fog,
Yeah.
that I accumulated on that lens, the perception through which we're viewing physical reality as consciousness interacts with the hologram. I can name it now. I used to have like severe, like panic,
Yeah.
just speaking into the truth of like, hey, I don't think we should put that fluoride in the water. That seems weird. Like, it comes from this like byproduct from this other industry, and they're just selling it after the war, and like all these kind of things, or like something outrageous. Like I used to work with submarines. I know quite a bit about them, and I saw like, I mean, this might be kind of edgy to say, but like the Epstein Island, I'm like looking at this, I'm like, that looks like a submarine base. That's weird. Look at
Mm.
this, the way that's shaped, and like, oh, but nobody's talking about that. And I'm experiencing panic in my body. Like I might die if I say something benign like, yo, I think maybe we shouldn't tamper with like putting all these things in the water, or something as crazy as, I think there's more to this story about what's going on here in this crazy conspiracy theory or whatever it is, right? But the more I've like learned about the myth and these ancient texts and the prophecies and all this stuff, the more I'm like, oh, I can build my own architecture to withstand the chaos that is this physical reality that makes honestly no sense to me. I feel like there's a lot better way to go, but um, truly, and it goes back to that Isis Ra myth. It's like I've learned to withdraw my energy, to engage with it in a very different way,
Yeah.
and to kind of like flow and be or co-create with it in a way that feels really good in my body and really, really solid. I got really, really sick, trying to force and control and manipulate my way through everything, wanting to be the way I wanted it to be. But eventually I had to look in the mirror. It was during like massive physical pain, and realize like there's something way bigger than me in this human body that's growing the trees and beating my heart and breathing my lungs while I sleep, that I don't have to ask it to. Oh, and when I treat my body like shit, it just balances and adapts and heals me. And I don't have to ask it. And that feels like unconditional love in a
Yeah.
way that I've never experienced. And so now, yeah, I mean, my podcast is called Metaphysical Gravity because I think that's what love is. It holds the energy hologram together. And
Hmm.
that's why these illusions and the deception, the pain and the blood and the guts and the sweat, like all the really heavy, dense stuff that makes no sense to us, I think,
Yeah.
and probably we've struggled with forever. Like when you recognize it as love, like, oh, all of it is love, not just the gooey unicorns and the flowers and that, all of it is. Like it really helps you view all of it with a different orientation. You can orient differently to it and then move through it differently. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. There's something about the anxiety you felt around
Yeah.
naming what you believe to be true. Was that oh would you say that was always something that was present for you growing up?
Well, yeah, I have memories of being told that I was going to get locked away. Like, they're going to put you in the loony bin if you keep asking questions like that. Like, you're going to, I mean, it really was actual fear. And I experienced a lot of abuse
Yeah.
for just naming things and being like, wait, you're stealing that. That's wrong. Or, I was raised, I think like you, were you raised in a really religious
Oh
sort
yeah.
of environment?
Catholic
Yeah.
Catholic
Same.
fervent
Yeah.
oh yeah. Pray every night, go to church every Sunday. Oh
But
yeah.
did but also, especially with Catholics, I'm like, there's people drinking beer in the back of the church, and
Oh
the
yeah.
priest is an alcoholic, and you're like,
And the priest
wait a
has
minute.
kids. We know the kids. Like, oh yeah. We friends with the kids.
You're like,
I'm not kidding.
wait,
Yeah.
this is not adding up to what, and my body is screaming at me the whole time. I remember as a kid in Catholic church being pissed, sitting in my wooden pew, listening to Latin. They're playing the organ, and I was viscerally angry. I'm like, they're playing that wrong. They're fucking playing that wrong because it's not like I could hear the 432, like it was tuned incorrectly.
Yeah.
Those were healing spaces and like very different vibe in there, I
Mhm.
think a long
Oh
time
yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like the whole time it was gaslighting myself because everything around me was gaslighting me to not trust what I knew intuitively or what my body, because my body is my oracle. My body will tell me instantly, like,
Yeah.
yes or no. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate. I can relate. I remember as a kid, they would send us to church. I have five siblings, and we would walk to
Oh,
church, and basically, I would just go take a walk, instead of going to church, and I would time my return because
get back away.
rebel inside of me was just like, I can't
Yeah.
handle,
Oh,
and I believed there was something evil about me. Like, how come they all want to go to church and I don't want to go to church? There must be something bad in me. And I was like, okay, maybe, and that's okay. That was a big part of my childhood, a big
oh,
part.
I'm hugging. Yeah, little Xavier's so like because, and I think that's why we get through it because the version of you now is encouraging him to say, "Go, you don't need to go, you don't need to." I think that's how I've gotten through it on a quantum level. Again, this is energy speak. It's like it just always made complete sense to me to go back
Yeah.
and whisper to that little girl who's like playing in the woods alone. I used to go out in the woods and like cover the trees in mud and
Mm.
healing them and like all this crazy weird shit. Like it was like ritual. I didn't know it was all intuitive. Like I was so just deeply connected to nature and everything about my life was trying to rip me out and destroy, disconnect that. But I think the version of me now is what like allowed that to not be completely severed.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? Like,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
And there was like this weird inner knowing that I
yeah,
did not know how to make sense because of conditioning, which
yeah,
is you want to believe your parents, you want to trust them as a kid. And
yeah,
the theory, I was mad at God and I had arguments with God, and I also did not understand how God was so loving, because every single time I felt scared, I could just anchor into my heart and I would feel literally taken care of. And at the same time, I am told I should be afraid of God. I'm like, that doesn't
yeah.
add up.
Like Noah's Ark. That's a really funny story. It's like he
Yeah.
loves you so much. He's also going to flood the whole earth because you're a bad sinner. So it's like the whole time I'd be like, wait, what? Like, that's not how a father behaves.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like for you, I didn't have an escape route. Like there was a lot more control. I think maybe because being a girl, there was a lot of different, like a lot of other interesting, strange programming. It's like interesting that you pick up on this, like the strength and this warrior energy, right? Because that
Yeah.
was expected of me. Like you pick
Mm,
yourself up and you fucking go. Like there are no excuses.
mm.
You pain, what is that? We don't have time for that. That's illusions. I was told I was weak my whole life.
It
Um,
is so
but also,
interesting that you say that, because so much of your journey has been basically pain submitting you. The way
yes,
I'm understanding it, it's like you entering a jujitsu arena with pain, and pain having you on
yeah,
a chokehold and basically asking you to tap.
yes,
So it's so interesting, the
yeah.
paradox.
I think that's how I developed this. Like, bring it on, motherfucker. Like, that's how I. Sorry, am I allowed to swear? I
Oh
that is
yeah, yeah.
so okay. Sorry,
Oh,
right? But that's how I am now. It's like, try me. And I thought that my capacity was quite low. I really didn't have a frame, like I didn't have a comparison. So I really thought I was operating in the world as if I was very small, very meek, like very, and that was because the system I was raised within, that was how I stayed safe. Like, you have to stay under my thumb. I will keep you safe. If there's a
Yeah.
problem, I come fix it. Someone outside of me is going to come save me.
Yeah.
That victim, villain, savior kind of triangle and all that kind of stuff was really at play. And then, you go out into the world and you're out of that environment, you get a little bit of an expanded perspective, or you witness someone else and you're like, oh, wait, I can do that. That's easy for me. And that they're saying that's hard. Wait a minute. And I started to put the puzzle pieces together. It's like, oh, wait, maybe I have a really massive capacity. Wait a minute. Let me just think about pain completely differently. Maybe it's all an opinion. Maybe this is way more subjective, and that's an even bigger, like, crack open kind of moment where it's like, how can we even label what is pain or not? It just is
Yes.
really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. There is something about the how do you call it? The fear of truth, or the fear of speaking truth that you had at such a young age. Part of me is wondering, is that a memory? Is that um generational? But what I mean by generational, I mean ancestral. Is
Yeah.
that a memory that your soul is bringing back to you and basically giving you the warnings? I mean, not that I believe that the soul is operating from fear, but like
Mm.
elevating it in this moment, illuminating it in this moment, so that you can I believe every single person that carries the energy of a Gabriel, which is the angel, which is the messenger, basically has to face, to a certain degree, the fear of being persecuted for bringing forth truth. So the way I hear your story, it feels like that fear was encoded at a very young age. And, if it happened, if it was there at such a young age, I'm not sure it's only the byproduct of conditioning. Part of me is just
Right.
like, oh, you know, it's just like one of the themes that you had to face like early on to become who you are being primed to be. How, how are you
Yeah.
receiving that? Does it make any sense to you, or?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I agree. There's like, obviously our cells hold a lot of information. And so on an
Mhm.
ancestral level, absolutely. And I don't have like a solid, at least not right now, story, but I know there are a lot of rumors, and where there's smoke, there's fire usually. And so there's
Yeah.
like a whole story about Nazis, and every one of the men in my family, I come from like a long line of like mountain and like merchant marines, military, like really strong men. And my dad didn't have any sons. And so,
Mm.
like, ancestrally speaking, there was a lot going on there. And they were all the women, like on that same side of the family, they're all named Mary. Is really interesting. And my father was like, we're done. We're not doing this. She's going to be named something different. Allegedly, again, this control theme. Again, before I even was like in utero, the decisions were being made about how we will control and change. Like this next iteration of the generation. And so, yeah, like again, the interplay between cells, the physical matter, and the unseen realms, and how that all comes together. But yeah, I totally. I honestly, if I wouldn't have had some of the metaphysical experiences I've had, I wouldn't believe, you know, um, in dimensions and happening across timelines. And I wouldn't have, like, all of that makes complete sense, that type of language to me, because it helped me like figure out and put words to my own experience, because my programming was very logical and science and quantifiable. Like, we need data. Like, I need to be able to say why this is happening. But then, I'd have a dream, and it wasn't just, oh, this is my symbolic, my Jungian mind, because my mind is quite Jungian. Like, I start talking to someone and there's a movie playing in my mind. I'm like seeing all sorts, I'm sure you could, yeah, or you get the sensations in your body or whatever it is. And it's, can be quite revealing on so many for everyone. Cause yeah, but, yeah, it was more than just, like, my subconscious speaking to me. I'm like, that felt very real. I'm looking down and my hands are black, and there's a little girl, I'm churning butter, and there's a little girl at the door, and she's calling me mama. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what on earth? Like, that was me. I felt like I was me, but that wasn't this body. And now I have to ask these other questions, you know what I mean? And it's really fascinating, yeah. The interplay. But I love the angels. Yeah, I'm a big fan of angels and talking to energies like that or embodying them. What does it mean to the Christos energy, the Sophia, the all of these aeons, and like what does that mean? And that can get kind of shadowy because there's
Hmm.
a lot, it's like trendy now, which is great. Like it's so cool that we have this like spiritual trend and the new age movement and all this stuff, but it's also a little bit scary because
Yeah.
there's a lot of shadow.
Yeah. I love that. I love
Yeah.
the awareness of that. And where I'm getting with this is, um, I come from a place where the awareness of the shadow, I want to say comes first. I was born and raised in Africa. My dad is from Benin. My mom is from Cameroon. We were raised in Cameroon. And for anybody who knows just a little bit about Benin, you might know that it is the epicenter of voodoo. Now, my family chose religion as, you know, the safe place because they were scared of everything that was supposedly dark and occult.
Right.
And like the number of weird experiences, like s- weird shit. Waking up in the morning and seeing that some ritual happened in front of your house because you can see like dead animals, blood spread in some patterns. Like, literally, that was my childhood. Um, so it's like the awareness of how shadowy human consciousness could get was just front, back, center, all over the place. And I don't know, I felt like I was primed a little bit to look at fear and to be like, I'm tired of running from you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just tired. If
Yes.
you're gonna eat me alive, just eat me. I'm exhausted, type thing.
Literally. Yes, that's how I felt about pain. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, you win.
yeah,
Try me. Yeah.
yeah. It's like surrender. And like,
Yes.
fine, fine. If you're that big Baba Yaga, then just have your way. Um,
Yeah.
so I wonder how your own, I want to say, experience, childhood experience, and it's up to you. You don't need to go into the nitty gritty of how dark it was. It's up to you. You you
Mhm.
you decide what you wish to share. But I
Okay.
wonder how. I have a running theory, and I want you to a
I'm
running
excited.
theory. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
have a running theory about most people who are interested in who have a tremendous love affair with knowledge,
Ooh.
first intelligence
Okay.
and then knowledge.
Yeah.
And my personal understanding of it is like usually childhood primes you to become very extremely hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel safe when I know, or I feel safe when I have the intel, the data. Without it, I don't know how to feel safe. So
Yeah. It's your anchor.
my running theory is maybe your childhood basically shaped you to be that person. It's like I need to map the terrain in front of me. Without it,
Yeah.
I don't feel safe. And
Yeah.
it feels like it has evolved to from the love of intelligence to the love of knowledge, the love of wisdom to the love of God. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I just want to
Yeah.
kind of explore a little bit how your personal journey, your childhood primed you to be the Erin you are. I mean, the Erin you were in the intelligence community to who you are now.
You know, it's spot on for sure. Like I know that was a huge part of it. And I think just to maybe like sharpen it from my experience, I think that I needed to understand in order to exist in it and to
Hmm.
survive. Like I had to, it was easier for me. It was a shield, but also like a lifeline to try and understand why someone was hurting me, why someone
Yes.
was treating me the way that they were. Um, because it didn't add up. It literally did not make any sense to me. And I think that is because I've always been able to see the full picture. Like when you can see someone's whole heart, when you can see their soul, when you can see the good in them, despite however ugly and nasty and disgusting or scary and terrifying they're behaving, um, it I would put myself right in the line of fire because I would ignore reality. I was
Mm.
living in the fantasy. I was living in the illusion. I was living in those, metaphysical realms, the unseen, because those places felt safe. It wasn't safe to be in my body. And so, um, I really had to learn how to not fall for the illusion necessarily, or like what
Yes.
was the potential. And so I think, yeah, like really understanding, okay, this is their wound. They're acting from that wound. And for a long time, I mean, I'll say even just until recently, like I had to learn how to be the stabilizer. So my shadow was, how do I stay as silent as I can? How do I stay as unbothered? Like, how can I weather this storm? Like like I need to remain like completely unbothered by the crazy shit this narcissistic like personality is doing, or like the chaos of being raised around a lot of addiction and just pure chaos, violence, like all that kind of stuff. Like, how do I remain as unbothered as I can on the surface? Inside, I'm screaming. Inside, there's a lot going on emotionally. Because my body is really sensitive. And so I could feel their sadness underneath of the rage. You know what I mean? Like those are two sides of the same coin for me. And I figure that out very emotions just, I walk into the room and I'm like, okay, what needs to happen here in order to create harmony? And for a long time, I was contorting myself into little pretzels to hold the container or like keep the container afloat, right? The system, the family structure, whatever it is. And I did that when I was in the Intel community too. And that's essentially what we're doing. It's like, how is the system behaving? Well, what do we need? How do we work with this? You know what I mean? Because anything that exists in the realm of time is subject to entropy. And so it's going to reveal itself. Truth is going to reveal itself eventually because power leaks in any system like that. And this gets back to like force and truth. And, force rules most of the visible world. At least that's the one that we've created. But truth rules the invisible one. And truth, it outlasts force every time. And so it was this constant refinement over the years, I guess, of me realizing, oh, if I withdraw my energy, I don't have to lift a finger. I don't have to out overpower this wounded masculine. I don't have to defeat. I don't have to dominate. I don't have to do any of that. All I have to do is withdraw consent. I just have to allow entropy to do its job. I'll study the system. I'll study the architecture. And then when it's very clear and entropy has revealed the truth, I strike. It's just like a one and done kind of thing. If that is even necessary, I usually am just like, well, that's my power comes from where I'm placing my attention and what I'm feeding, and then, yeah, letting reality do the work otherwise. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is a concept that, here's my guess of how some people are receiving this. It's my guess.
Okay.
It's like the level of trust in life, the level of trust in God that is needed to operate from that place feels
Yes.
so expensive.
Unhinged is what I
Yeah,
usually get. Erin, you're crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah. Yeah,
So
maybe.
where does that come from? The cultivation of that level of trust, because on
Mm.
so many levels, I'm usually the pain in the ass asking people to realize the benevolence at play inside of their lives already. It's like it's already ongoing. You've mentioned some of that at the beginning. There's this innate intelligence that beats your heart when you're sleeping. There's this force that has been holding all the wounds you didn't know how to feel yet, all the pain you didn't know how to feel that you've been carrying for decades. It's like it's been with it, holding it until the moment you're like, okay, I'm done running from it. It's like crazy. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. So I wonder, what was the journey for you to develop that kind of trust with life, with the
Yeah.
fabric of life itself? And did
Yeah.
pain did pain have a role to play in the whole thing?
Pain was my teacher. Pain was the teacher. Yeah, it still is, and like we were saying, like this very human journey, it's not linear. It's a spiral to me. We
Yeah.
meet similar things at deeper and deeper levels, but yeah, it was pain, truly. And because when pain arrives, you can't escape it. It's like you must be present, you must be here, and you must face it. And so I fell in love with the pain in this very strange sort of way, because you cannot run from it. And that's how I started relating to life as a mirror. And that's kind of what I teach these days. Like, everything about physical reality is mirroring something to you. Because I could sit here and take the victim route and say, look at what I went through in my childhood. Look at what I lived through. Look at what my parents, the hell that they crawled out of, and their parents. And like, look at what has existed in this family line for this many generations, or whatever it is. But also, at a certain point, you have to look in the mirror and say, well, but why am I continuing to attract this? Because, I mean, and I will say that, like, I watched Beauty and the Beast on a plane recently, and I was like, oh my God, the Jungian symbolism in this, like, how did I not see it before? It's crazy. But there's a mirror in the mirror, a rose, like, it's dying, entropy. Again, like, the universe doesn't reward control to me. It rewards coherence. And so pain, struggle, like, that's part of being alive. That exists in nature. I always say, like, if you're confused, you look to nature, because nature is never confused. There's always a reason. It doesn't just do things. It doesn't expend energy the way that we do with a lot of the systems that we create, right? Like, nature is also like a system.
Yeah.
And yeah, so pain was the teacher. And every time it showed up, I'd have to get real honest about what I was participating in and what dynamics I was feeding or allowing or consenting to. Because false order, like the divine matrix, nature, to me, that's love. Like, false order costs energy in a different kind of way. Like, reality has rules. There's no system that escapes that. Like I said, everything that exists in time, it like is subject to entropy, which I argued with for a very long time, because I can access that multidimensional, like, infinite version of myself. I'm on the ground for over 12 hours, puking, passing in and out of consciousness. I'm covered in my own blood because I'm dealing with, like, cysts rupturing and all sorts of, like, all of my physical pain is related to, like, endometriosis is what Western medicine refers to it as. And so it's interesting, this, like, womb space, and the inside of the uterus is growing outside of itself in this dis-ease. Why? Well, why is that happening? I went to the doctor for decades. I'd end up there after every chaotic sort of episode, and no one would be able to tell me why that was happening. And as someone, like you've mentioned, like, we have this thirst. It's like, well, I have to understand in order to regulate my nervous system, in order to feel safe, I have to understand why. And so, I mean, I've had doctors fire me as a patient, like, because they'll say, here's the repurposed cancer drug that we want to put you on. It's going to put your body into menopause. I'm 23, by the way. And the side effects that you're going to have are lifelong. So if you osteoporosis, that kind of stuff starts happening, it's irreversible. But this might give you a couple of months without pain. And I'm thinking, are you out of your freaking mind? And they're telling me, do not go research it. Do not go home and Google it. Well, what was the first thing I did? I came back in with a whole fucking binder, like, let's talk about this, because it's insane. This is absolutely insane. And then they'd say, well, we can't work with you. Like, we can't have a relationship this way. It's like, okay, now you just dropped me and now I'm back at square one. So I then go to the alternative communities. It's like everywhere being met. And eventually the people that were closest to me, my ex-husband, my family, everyone, they're like, well, if you won't help yourself by getting the surgery, we can't do anything for you. It's abandonment, right? Betrayal. It's so deep. And I could go even further into not being acknowledged in pain. I mean, there were times where people would, like, kick me and they'd say, get up. If it's that bad, I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to take you out to the car. I'm going to drive you to the hospital, and I'm going to make them give you a hysterectomy, because there's just no way this is hurting you that badly. Like, get it together. And so that was the programming I was trying to operate within, right? But my body, you smack into reality. Like, the truth is, you're suppressing something that's far more powerful than everything you're trying to force. And so, I mean, like you said, you just get to the point where you're so weak and you're just so done that there are no other options but to trust God and to say, it's going to break my heart to leave people who are in pain, who are scared, and who I know care about me, but they can't meet me in truth and clarity, in my truth, especially. And so I have to walk away, and there's nothing else, right? I have no idea money. I can't work. I don't know. How do you support yourself? But it has worked out over and over and over again on so many levels. And it has always been better than my dreams, than the fantasy that I was told. doesn't exist. There's a fantasy in my mind, this beautiful photo that, like this illusion that I've clung to my entire life where, I'm experiencing lots of different um, things in physical reality, but that it wasn't happening, and the letdowns and the heartbreak and over again, it's like, what are you clinging to? It's like this dream that I have, and I just keep getting closer and closer, close enough just to hang on a little longer.
Yeah.
And then I say, blow my mind. I dare you to blow my mind, God, because at this point it's better than I could have imagined. I just had to surrender. I just had to admit the truth to myself. And so, yeah, now that I think that's why I feel nonplussed about some of the other stuff we were talking about, governments, tech platforms. Like, it doesn't matter if you're talking about myths or relationships. They're all systems. They all behave in the same way. They require energy. They require maintenance. They require coherence,
Yeah.
and when coherence drops, entropy reveals what was unsustainable. And that's true in physics. That's true in society. And so, yeah, studying the architecture, I'm using intuition as architecture because now my inner masculine supports that feminine intuition. That's really
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
I have a million more questions that are emerging,
Okay. Yeah.
as you're dropping all of that. First, I love the inner map you just laid down. I really love it. And part of me is wondering, um, there's this word that you use at the beginning, which is, you are in this nest going through this,
The training. Yeah.
the training, and you used the word, womb. And I was like, okay, endometriosis. And I'm not a big connoisseur. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that name of, the logic of the body.
Ah,
But there was something that was clearly, when you use that term like
yeah.
nest,
No
I was like,
accident.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I was just like, have you ever felt like you nested? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um yeah.
It goes back
And
to the darkness thing, I think, too, right? Like
yes.
the fearing of the darkness and what you were saying about fear. Like
Yeah.
the womb is very dark. When we put
Yeah.
seeds in the earth, it's very dark. And
Yeah.
that's how it's felt for a very long time. Like I was in this womb. And now I can choose, I'm going to enter into that little nest, that safe little spaces, because it's actually the safest place, that void,
Yeah.
the womb space. But
Yeah.
we're programmed like to see it as this big, dark, scary thing and avoid. But that's where the magic happens, is hopping into that void, whether it looks like, coming and facing yourself in a place like Bali, or, going off to Egypt the way that I did and slamming into that mirror with teeth over there. It's pretty intense, like leaving the systems that you were raised within. Like that
Yes.
required a lot of courage. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the
Yeah.
journey that you would say your inner, call it your feminine blueprint, has? Because I have a sense that to operate in that world where I'm going to take pain head on, I am going to, I don't know, like, I'm going to get into this. I've never been in any intelligence community in this lifetime, so I don't
Mm.
know what it's like in there. But I suppose my guess is it is most likely a very masculine environment where
Yeah.
logic is God,
Yes.
and intel is, I don't know, Jesus. Like, but where I'm trying to get at is you've probably had to harden quite a bit to
Yeah.
exist in that, arena. So what is the journey that you would say your own, call it inner feminine? I don't like the fact that these terms have become so,
Yeah. I know,
mainstream,
distorted.
distorted as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, what are you hearing and what comes up for you as I bring up that question?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's so much more than just masculine, feminine. I know. I wish
Yes.
maybe we'll come up with better language for that eventually. But yeah,
I've been looking. So
I know.
if you have
I mean,
better language for that, I'm taking.
yeah, I'm like sun, moon, like we can, the yin yang, like there's so much, the doing, the being, like there's a lot of
Yeah.
different, but it kind of plays into this. Like, I think a normal reaction is to harden and to
Yes.
like, really build like the literal calcium shell the way that we do in our bodies. Like a lot of people, I studied minerals quite a bit. I have like I feel like I have a medical degree because no one could help me. Like, and so I got really into understanding the body, especially with this knowledge of soul, this metaphysical lens, because that's not what they're teaching in med school these days. But yeah, there's like a calcium shell that will develop when it, like literally our nervous system, it's like a way to protect our body. In my mind, it's like a coral reef. Like we literally are building a coral reef around our insides. That's how I see it. But I didn't. And I don't know exactly why. Maybe it's like you said, that inner knowing or something, because I was always quite soft, and I earned like a reputation for being quite soft, even in those spaces. Like I remember my mentor, brilliant guy, is like a double PhD in rocket science. It's kind of like an interesting journey that I had through the Intel community, because I got scooped up right after I moved onto the DoD side of things. I was sitting next to a guy, again, magical things
And
constantly
DOD would
happening.
be Department of Defense.
Defense, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Because I started at the Department of Homeland Security. I was doing a lot of domestic stuff, and it was all open source when I was working there. I didn't need a clearance. And the reason I was on that contract for like a year and a half was because it takes that long for your clearance to pop, the background investigations, the polygraphs, like all the things they do before you can even get in there. But because I was so young, and I think that like I was like fresh out of college, I had
How
all of
old
the
were you
bells.
when you entered that universe?
22. I literally had just
Wow.
like graduated. I had an internship at the Department of Homeland Security. I was commuting from Fredericksburg, Virginia up to DC. It was so stressful. I don't know how I did. I don't know. I almost didn't graduate. Well, they like threatened it because I was working at the same, I was carrying all these jobs. Like I don't know how I did it, because my life now, I'm like, hanging out every morning. I'm like, it's a very different way of life. I don't know how I did it. I would drink like iced coffee with shots of espresso in them, like called Red Bulls or Red Eyes or something like exact. I don't know how my body sustained what I put it through just to show up in those spaces. But there wasn't this hardening that was happening. Interestingly enough, I attracted these like saviors type thing, kind of like the dynamic I think that I experienced like with people in my family, like because I remember one of the early briefs, they were like, oh, well, we'll send Erin because she's unassuming. And I knew like alarm bells were going off in my mind. I'm like, oh, unassuming. That's a backhanded compliment. Let me like think about this. She's silly. She's goofy. Like she's constantly joking. I could like work a room and play the dog and pony show, I think. But I also knew exactly what the fuck was going on the whole time, but I didn't show it. And again, it's like the Isis Ra thing. Like Isis doesn't overpower Ra, she outsmarts him. And that's what I see, the true power in the divine feminine, this concept or whatever we want to call it, this frequency that's within all of us. Again, it has nothing to do with men and women. It's just there's no reason for us to force ourselves into something that just my body wouldn't allow me, is really what it came down to. Like I try and be loud and forceful sometimes, the way that, everything I was trained to do and be. And I really can. Like I can do that, but it doesn't feel good. I never like the way that. And I always have just been like, I want to do what feels good, especially in my body. Like if it doesn't feel, I'm not going to do that for very long. And so, yeah, I think hopefully that kind of like answers a little bit more, because I don't know exactly why the hardening didn't happen. But then I would attract these like a lot of times the men, they'd be like, well, let me help you. Let me guide you with that. It's like, again, coming from this wounded place, as if I don't already know, or I need the help,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. What I'm hearing is this. It's like, I don't know, maybe there's this stupid idea that's going on in my head at the moment. It's just like maybe you were born in a soup of magnesium, and the balance of magnesium and calcium did not necessarily create like inner walls. Um, I'm
You
not.
know what's crazy that you say that? I have been obsessed with cows like my whole life. My mom would joke because I would drink like a gallon of milk by myself, like in a
Mhm.
week growing up. Again, metaphysically, I'm like, oh, the things I didn't get, I have always just sort of like intuitively been balancing, right? Like I will go through, I'll do like raw milk fasts and stuff these days. Like there's always this balancing, this like intuitive sort of way, this almost kind of like sneaky way that I can fly under the radar and get, build up again. Because I guess it wouldn't, yeah, like there were times that there was hardening happening, but there was
Yeah.
this life would always bring me back to like, no, there's something, another way. There's another way to move through this experience or to, yeah, like evolve, I guess.
Would you say that
Not,
symbolically, like this attraction that you had towards milk growing up was your body saying you need more nurturing?
yeah, I mean, it's perfect food. It literally, like an egg is like the most nutri it's literally contains the ingredients to create life.
Yeah.
That's why we eat them.
Yeah.
Milk is the same kind of thing. It's got the protein, the fat, the carbs, all the, aminos and the things that we need.
Yeah.
So it's not an
But
accident. Yeah.
I meant here more nurturing, more in terms of like more
Oh,
mothering,
yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
like motherly energy. I feel like, especially during, I mean, while you were navigating so much pain, a part of you craved more softness.
Well, because I never experienced that mother mirror. Yeah,
Yes.
I was never met with like the nurturance and the whole, and so I became that usually
Yeah.
for the room. And almost like I don't know if you know, I'm a Cancer rising, and so that's the kind of what I lead with. Is like this very maternal, like I mother everything just
Yes.
naturally. It just like is the way it is, and that is also a lot, there's a shadow, like a big shadow associated with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's been like this refinement of like, well, what does this situation really call for, and where am I being honest with my contributing and how I'm showing up in that mother role? What does it really look like?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, for
You know,
sure.
you've mentioned your Jungian brain, and it's just like mine has been on fire since we started speaking, and just like, you know, um, just enjoying the map that is forming. And yeah, I really love that. The question that is present for me right now is how you're working or have worked on reconciling the extremes, because I'm going to make it more specific. Working in the intelligence community, my assumption is you get to see a lot of the first through your own childhood, but also working in that community. I assume you get to see a lot of the darkness that the human psyche is capable of, and it's and right now we have this community of people that are getting black pilled with regards to everything, with regards to the world. I often like to think of them as believing in demons more than they're willing to believe in angels, or believing that, you know, the devil is way more powerful than it actually is to a certain degree. And here you are operating from this place that is willing to surrender completely to the benevolence of the universe and God in life. So, what has been the journey of dancing, of maybe reconciling these extremes? It's like, I assume there is this awareness of how dark shit can get, like how human beings can really be twisted. Like, for example, when it comes to our collective relationship to darkness, I attribute all the darkness happening, I mean, a big part, 99.999% of the darkness unfolding on the human plane right now, to human beings. The way I perceive things, am I do I believe that there are such a things as dark entities and all of these different things? Yeah. Do I also believe that they need vessels to operate in this realm? 100%. That's just the frame of belief. Do I believe that we have a huge capacity, scary capacity to do dog shit? I think we are not even ready to admit to ourselves how dark we can get. So how do you reconcile that within you? Or have you? Or, what kind of dark shit have you seen? And how do you sleep at night? For somebody who is getting black pilled right now, who is looking at everything that seems to be unfolding, systems of control, we talk about like digital IDs, all these different things that to so many people, it just feels like there is that rampant energy that just wants to consume
Yes.
everything. That is just a hungry ghost, starving for energy, starving for like looking for more devotees. Okay, I laid it down.
Yeah.
What are you?
Well, I'm going to just take a minute because I am a goosebump now. My whole body is a goosebump. I think it's actually quite simple. And this just came to me while you were speaking. I think because of the way you asked the question, it was beautiful. But I think it's because the depth of the darkness that I've witnessed, whether it was Intel community, human nature, my own personal experiences, whatever, it has directly translated to a recognition of my own power.
Yeah.
And that is actually more unsettling than the very fucked up stuff I've witnessed, to be honest with you. Like, to realize how free we are, that we choose bondage a lot of the time is like, again, a goosebump moment. It's like, that is, and to admit that to ourselves, the grief and the heartbreak and the black pilling, the clear pilling, whatever you want to think about, however you talk about these like realizations. Like it's the recognition of, holy moly, like I am being shown a mirror of the depth of my own power. And I think sometimes there's a tendency to really reject what I'm saying. Like there's this like a visceral reaction. And I think that's
Say
part of
more.
why
A tendency from yourself to reject it, or from people to kind of reject it?
from others. That's part of why I, for so long, spoke in code. I speak in riddles. I'm very clever. And that is shifting now. That is not going to be the way Erin moves forward. We're going to be clear, especially because I think this conversation, you're gifting me something massive right now. And that's part of why I'm so incredibly grateful for this opportunity to have this conversation with you, because I'm able to sit here with a regulated nervous system and completely be honest, like truth, like total truth. This is like the age old question. Why would the doctors at the beginning of all of this COVID nonsense in 2020, like their relationship, their job, their life, their pensions, everything, like why would they, for questioning, like we have to understand, like look at the energetics underneath of what we're labeling as wrong, right, bad, good, all of these types of things, right? This darkness, it is a total mindfuck to start to really play with the idea that what if you were one of these bad actors or these demons in another timeline? What if it's part of you that's looking to be integrated? And, you hear this, like, especially in men's work, often it's like the shadow is this repressed killer. It's the part of the man that wants to murder every other guy that's ever touched his wife, before they met or something like that. Like, but if you acknowledge and allow that part of you to exist and you love it and you integrate it, that becomes a superpower. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's like, oh, yeah. And so to say that I've seen some screwed up stuff would be so far beyond an understatement. Even just as a kid, there was like so much violence and really intense encounters and altercations and things I just witnessed, like thankfully wasn't involved in, but like witnessing it was enough. Like, of a trauma, people leaving in the middle of the night and the cops and the this and just the chaos. And then, so like, that's why getting into the Intel community, and I'm in a room, very dark room with floor to ceiling screens, and we're watching footage from this place on the other side of the world, and someone is not okay. You know what I mean? Like there are things blowing up, whatever it is. Like that felt totally fine. Like there was no issue. I could hold my own through any kind of mission there, and not that I was working on live stuff. A lot of the work that I was doing was R&D, but because of that, I got to put my fingers into every facet of all of the different, I got to see a lot of different sources and methods. I got to work on a lot of interesting projects because of that. It wasn't like confined to one AOR, like one responsibility, one area or anything like that. But yeah, like the recognition of how deep the darkness is. And I think that that's what's to come. And I think that that's part of why I cannot speak in riddles or clever. I can't do this mysterious Erin moves and no one understands like how she knew that thing was going to happen. And so, like the strategic stuff will never probably, like, it's just how it is,
Yeah.
But I think in integrity for me, I really want to empower other people to realize their own power and to understand what happens when we reclaim it, not just how powerful we are, because what if these bad actors have actually been suppressing the truth for our own good? I brought this up. I host these monthly soul symposiums, I call them, and I kind of just threw it out there as an aside, but it's like, well, what if these bad guys have been suppressing things, because if the guy that owns the car wash down the street had the knowledge of the universe, he'd nuke us all, because he didn't have the infrastructure, to know what to do and how to wield that power. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an age old tale, like the Shiva Shakti story, and again, getting back to all these different myths, you can go into any ancient culture, right? But it's like, what happens without Shiva without Shakti is inner consciousness, right? Shakti without Shiva is unchanneled, just chaos.
Yeah.
Power doesn't come from the force. It comes from alignment. It's that coherence conversation. And so we panic sometimes when we realize like how free we are. When we panic, so we run right back into the cage and we recreate the old systems. It's a different flavor. But I have a lot of questions around freedom, especially. It's like, do we really know freedom? Do we even understand what it is? Because that's how deep it goes. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah.
does. It does. And
Yeah.
I think these concepts, we romanticize them deeply. And when we are faced, I mean, the realization, oh,
So true.
like I sometimes, lately I've been saying like God is such a motherfucker. Um, like I say that with all my heart, and God, I'm not apologizing. It's like, geez, the more you get close to that source,
Or
the consciousness, the more it just invites you to look at all the distortions within yourself, all the falsehood that you're still carrying, that you are addicted to,
yeah.
and especially the virtuous addictions.
Yeah.
The addiction to be seen as good, the addiction to
Yeah.
being seen as, I don't know, aligned, the addiction to be, I've recognized that within myself, the addiction to not letting people down, um,
Yes.
the addiction to, I don't know, all these different things are just like flaring up. So
Yeah.
the freedom question that you had, I mean, it's one of my biggest values. The length that I've gone to just feel like I had my own freedom. Like some people, I don't think they would tolerate that in terms of, there are moments in my life where I was completely at peace with not being a part of society whatsoever in any way, shape, or form, but still being
Yeah.
here though. Like
Yeah.
still being here, like
Yeah.
not but not not being a part of society. That wasn't my. I feel like that was my shadowy version of you saying, I am going to stop feeding that kind of paradigm of
Because it's the energy
control.
behind it. Yes. It's like, what energy are we doing? What's the energy behind it? Is it coming from a place of love, or is it coming from a place of that shadow? Like you're saying, it's like, I'm going to punish reality by withdrawing my attention. I want them to suffer. I want them to miss me, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, again, there's that unseen element that we are very much trained to look away from, right? And our altruism is played like a fiddle. It's like, well, on the surface, this looks very beautiful and good and virtuous. But also there's an underlying energy. It's like, really, why are you doing the things you're doing? Why are you making the choices? Did you just make your little homestead and, get your ducks in a row and you're living off the grid because that's truly, really in alignment with your soul? Is that really what you want? Or are you terrified of when the rug gets pulled out because you might want, be able to handle it? It's like, well, entropy is going to play a role, right? Because coherence is going to reveal the truth eventually, right? And that's, again, not a knock. I would never judge, and honestly, all of it happens exactly the way it's meant to, no matter what. So that, yeah, at this point, I'm like, yeah, well, being out of alignment actually gets you into alignment really quickly
Oh
sometimes. So it's really
yes.
nice.
It's like sometimes we need a slap in the face to realize that we're
Yeah.
going in the wrong, I mean, quote unquote, wrong direction, or that
Yeah.
we are acting in a way that is not aligned with soul.
Yeah.
A question that is present right now. I saw you posted that video where you were talking about all these things about digital ID, and I have so many friends that are worried about it, and
Yeah.
I have to say that within myself, it is not something that is too much within my field. I have an awareness of that. I haven't sat with it long enough. I wouldn't say I do not, you know, the my freedom oriented persona is just like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like where it's going with it.
Right.
And I feel like it is touching a lot the paradigm of transparency that we have. Let me try to lay that down. I feel
Yeah.
like truth is transparent. It's not opaque. It is not. It's like I feel like one of the attributes of light is actually transparency. I cannot
Mm.
see in this room if I mean as soon as there is light, things become transparent, meaning I can see my depth of vision can actually increase and I can see further, farther. So it's like the transparency in the room is an attribute of light. And I feel like, by the way, this is not an apology of any system of or digital ID or whatever, but I feel like
Amen.
we are
Yeah. Amen.
playing with the consciousness of transparency and we are looking at the two polar opposites of that. We have said, we have had that prayer. We want more light. We want more freedom. And I feel like the prayer is being realized and we are noticing the two, in this world of duality, two polar opposites colliding. It's like one is the expression of transparency in the paradigm of control. And the other one, the expression of transparency in a paradigm of actually expansion and freedom, however we want to call it. And I'm not sure that the full rejection of one side of the coin would actually give us the expansion that we are looking. I've just been wanting to. I'm not sure if there's really a question, but I want to hear your thoughts, your process through all of that. How are you dealing with that? How are you working through all of this at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess, and that amen to all of that, because it just really, even if I'm saying the word amen, I don't use that word very much. It's probably because I've been thinking like Amun Ra. I've been
Hmm.
thinking about this Isis Ra. I'll get to that in a minute, but it's just fascinating. Again, the energetics of that. But it's never what we think it's going to be, right? We pray for peace, and then we're like, oh, my life just fell apart, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, that's a perfect invitation for you to integrate and embody the frequency of peace. You're welcome,
Yes.
right? The universe, God is so playful to me. Like God has this cosmic humor is. And
Oh,
it's out.
God's a motherfucker.
Yes, like so fucking funny and
To all
on
the
so many
Christians
levels.
and religious people listening to this, I'm sorry, but yeah, God is a motherfucker.
Totally agree. But I feel like God would be like, hell yeah, like that's right, Like
Yeah.
if Jesus came down right now, he'd be like, yeah, you guys are right on time. Like, great job, keep going. Because of this light and this dark concept, that's how it feels for me right now. And again, I am always open to having my mind changed. Like I do not, it is above my pay grade to know how this plays out, what is best or good for the good of all. But I know that that's the vision and the timeline I'm holding. I hold that. No matter what is happening around me, I don't assign meaning to what it looks like on the surface because I know that the field emits matter.
Yeah.
And maybe can I just tell you this really quickly, this Isis
Yeah.
Ra thing? Like, so Ra is this god. He birthed himself, right? And the reason this atom and this atum is it's because that's the field and we call atoms now, right? Like again, the symbols between physics and these myths is just like so deep and so cool. But I think why it's coming up for me is because the systems, they reveal themselves. Isis is very wise and she's smart. And so she's watching Ra, this god, exist in physical reality. He's subject to entropy and he's aging. And, he's moving across the sky every day and like lighting up Egypt or whatever the story is. There's a version, I think, where he's being too harsh, I think, on humanity or something. And Isis feels compassion. And so she wants to rule with the gods. She wants to be a god, like not overpower them, but rule with them and bring more of that into anyway. So he one day has like some spit that falls from his mouth and onto the ground, and she scoops it up and she mixes it with the earth and she coils it into a serpent and she puts it right on his path and it bites him. And because it's made from his matter, he can't just command the poison away like he can with everything else because he's created everything. But he is the manifestation of Atum, of the field. The field emits matter, is my point. And so there's an underlying substrate, this metaphysical gravity, love, in my opinion, that is actually projecting reality into the field. And I don't get to see the full awareness of that. I don't have the satellite view of that. It's above my pay grade, right? That's God's job. And my role looks different. And I have surrendered to that, not knowing. I think it's beautiful and okay if we ask the questions, but we can't be attached to the answers. And just like, yeah, to your point, it's like, it always tends to work out in a way that I never could have dreamed of. Like usually if I have thought of it or saw it in my mind, I'm like, well, that's definitely not going to happen because I thought of it and God's a motherfucker. And so he's going to shock me because why the fuck else would I come here and suffer like this? Like it's got to get, you know what I mean? Like it's the whole point of what we're here to do. And so just to continue the myth arc, you know, Isis shows up. All the other gods can't help Ra. He's like in like a lot of pain and it's the poison is spreading. And Isis says, I can help you, but I need to know your true name. And in Egyptian mythology, a name is like your essence. There's like the name you present. And I think other cultures probably have this too. Yeah. Like there's lots of, I mean, even Balinese cultures, there's lots of names, and what they use and what they don't, you know, there's like that. Anyway. So his essence, and he gives her like every other name under the sun god, obviously. And then she says, no, like I want your true name. And to me, it's like a vulnerability, right? Like to drop the mask and to really name yourself. Like that's what she's asking for. Truth. She's saying, tell me the truth and I will help you. And so he does. And because he gives that to her, she integrates it and she is now as powerful as him. She has the secret. And that's how I look at these systems. Because at some point, like I've said, if it exists in time, this dimension of time, truth will start leaking. It's subject to entropy. And so the inefficiencies, the contradictions, the reliance on anything that you can't fully control, right? Like the force. The more rigid a system becomes, the more energy it's going to take to maintain the illusion. And I think that's where we're at. We're starting to see how deep the illusion goes. And when the secret name becomes visible, we don't need a rebellion. We don't need to use force. We just need clarity, right? Like, and that's the same logic I'm using to navigate my life now. And my life feels very different than it used to when I thought I had to fight the system and I had to overtake it and harden, you know, like anytime I did that, reality, God, whatever, would like come smashing back and say, that's actually not necessary. Like study the architecture, figure out how the system works, wait for the truth to reveal itself because time it's an honest witness, you know, like time is an honest witness. And so that's, I think you stop forcing the outcome. You stop trying to outplay the systems, or people or whatever it is. And you tell the truth. So that's my policy. It's like, I tell the truth. I'm transparent in the way that you're talking about, right? Like, this is it. This is where I'm at right now. Yes, it might change. But I'm going to be honest with you. And if there's a lack of coherence, I'm going to withdraw my energy and I'm going to let entropy do its work. And that's when I notice real power shifts happen. And I think we can apply that to things like digital IDs, right? But are we willing to do what is required of us to withdraw consent from these systems, right? Like when COVID happened, I knew immediately what was coming. I'm like, I'm not going to participate in a medical experiment. I am fully supportive. If that makes you feel safe and you want to do that, I 100% do it. Like that's fine. But my choice is no, thank you. And so that meant I had to be able to be a little more fluid. I packed up my car. I wanted to be able to leave if things got real. You know, if someone was going to tell me to put a mask on, I was going to say fuck you. But I don't speak that like that's not my energy. Like I just leave. You know what I mean? Like that is my fuck you. And I usually say it with like a smile. And I'm like, oh, love you. And bye, you know, because its truth is going to reveal itself. I don't have to even say anything. Do you know what I mean? Like the energy, you cannot fake frequency. And so I think that's, I mean, we can talk like in less riddle now, obviously, but that's like this story of Isis and Ra. It's like that confirms for me that we might give that a shot because I think it's maybe the only thing that we like haven't tried yet, you know, but any system that requires increasing control to function is already spending more energy than it's generating itself. And so I think the question becomes, it's like, will people submit? Are we going to submit? What are we going to consent to? How much energy does it require to enforce participation once trust erodes? And we have way more power than we realize in those circumstances. Yeah. What do you think? I don't know what you think.
I, I basically I'm sitting with this. I'm just like, okay, how do I mean, it just felt like such a complete statement. What comes up for me at the moment is the the even the willingness to hold paradox
Mm.
within ourselves. I just feel like it's such spiritually expensive things. Sorry. I'm looking at a lot of things, a lot of invitations, like divine invitations, from the perspective of like a, I would say a very much financial perspective. What do I mean by that is, if I'm invited to do something, do I feel like I can energetically finance it?
Mm.
Do I feel
Yeah.
like I have the funding,
Or
energetic,
bandwidth.
the
Yeah.
bandwidth, the spiritual funding? I look at that. I believe that there's a spiritual, energetic inner accountant that is so clear on like what we have capacity for, what we don't have
Yes.
capacity for. It's like counting pennies, but the pennies here are more like energetic bandwidth, spiritual stamina. And sometimes I really wonder, because I am twisted like that. I have this weird passion for self-liberation, and I sometimes try to decode what does it
Yeah.
look like to be in the presence of somebody who is, you know, I would also name that there's most likely a little bit of my own God complex in there, which is like, I want to free everybody. I want to help everybody get free from like pain. And sometimes I have to just honor, like have compassion for somebody right there where they are, and just
Yes.
honor the journey. Just like, I respect you and I love you where you are, even if you are
Yes.
never to change. And it
Yes.
takes me a little bit away from the condescension that I sometimes
Yes.
feel in my own passion. Um, but yeah, so it's just, these questions are constantly in my head. It's like, what does it look like to help somebody hold
Mm.
the massive contrast? Because there's such huge contrast. We have all these ingrained knee-jerk reactions. I see that as evolution in real time. What these times are asking of us, they are basically asking of us to undo the programming of our survival brain. It's like
Yes.
the part of us that has ruled forever. We are basically telling
Yes.
to that ancient brain, hey, shit's shifting over here.
This
Okay,
doesn't apply anymore. Yeah.
you can't run this. You can't run the show anymore. Like, seriously,
Yes.
chill out.
Yeah.
Chill the fuck out. You're gonna have to do things differently than you've done in thousands of years.
Yeah.
And I see it again. That's the reason why, lovingly, I say God is such a motherfucker, because the it is such ingrained
Yes.
to just look at life as this scary thing. I mean,
Yes.
or to learn
Yeah.
how to survive, to adapt in all these different things. So yeah,
To
that's
look at
what's
it without fear. Yeah. To
yeah,
look at it like for me, it's a video game. And there are
yeah,
moments where my human like really like gets very scared and
of
very has a
course.
big wobble. Yeah, exactly. I love your honesty. Yeah, truly. It's so refreshing. Yeah.
So yeah, I've really asked myself, what does it look like to stop playing the games and to really embrace everything as the evolution that it really is, and even the conflicts at the level of the planet at the moment. Because sometimes I receive these questions, such as, how do you reconcile what is happening in so many areas in the world, like what is happening in Gaza, and your way of
Yeah.
thinking? And I'm just like, do you think we've healed the consciousness of war? Like, how do you heal at the level of the body? It's like pain is going to emerge and you're going to allow yourself to see it, to feel it.
Yeah.
um it's like, okay, if we're looking at the planet as weird theory that I often have, because I like myth, I like archetypes. I often feel
Yeah.
like the earth at large, the original alchemists that wanted to create the philosopher's stone, meaning
Right.
that stone that had the, I don't know, the power to basically
Power.
to shift everything, like from pain to power, from lead to gold and all of that, just this alchemical stone. Sometimes in my lunacies, I feel like the earth wants to become that philosopher's stone. What I mean by that is a planet that has gone through the kind of like complete
Purification.
purge, the
Yeah.
purification, and the land itself carries that energy, that frequency of, like, I don't know, that philosopher's stone.
Mm.
And I sometimes ask myself, I'm just like, what would it therefore require if we have these eases of consciousness, just like war, just like fragmentation, just like all of control, like oppression, slavery, and all these different things. I'm like, oh, they're gonna emerge because right now there is a critical mass of crazy people who are willing to see that suffering and to let it run through their bodies instead of running from it. And I'm like, would it be possible that some of that is, it's like, would it be possible that some of that is going on right now? So at this moment, this is the running theory that I have in mind to kind of reconcile with all the fires we see being put out. It's like
Mm.
there is at the very least a timeline where the earth wishes to heal. And maybe there's a
Mm.
timeline where, I don't know, she is getting into stage 5 cancer or stage 10 cancer, and she's just
I
like,
think that happens. I dream about it. Yes, where we're like putting people on these spaceships and people are leaving the planet. Like I think that happens. Yeah.
honestly, this is the first time I am talking to somebody who seems to be, um like, honestly, I am not sure this is gonna be my own complete lunacy, but I feel like, um again, timing is an illusion. So when I say I feel like this is the generation, or this is the lifetime where um a similar form of split could unfold, I'm very cautious with my wording
Yeah.
because I don't like giving false hope. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I like to say, fuck it. I'm okay with being disappointed. I'm okay with dying in this lifetime. Like, that's okay. And nothing changes. That's absolutely okay.
Right.
But yeah, what is coming up for you as you hear all of that? I'm pretty sure people would be listening and be like, man, these people are just going cuckoo at the moment.
And if that is the case, yeah, like dive into that trigger is my first recommendation, right? Because I used to think the same thing. I thought when I was young, especially, like, these people must be lying. How are they happy? Like, I didn't know what was possible. So I didn't think it existed. And that was a big part of my work in the Intel community is like, we're working with the known knowns, but we know there are unknown knowns and there are unknown unknowns, right? There's like these
Yeah.
different levels of like what we know and what we don't know that we don't know. And like it expands and expands from there. And it's like, we have such a small perception of reality and what is possible um, on every spectrum. There's infinite. It's infinite. And so, I mean, this is quantum mechanics 101. You've got to collapse the field sort of to choose one, right? To create something, you've got to like collapse all possibility into motion, basically. And then once it's in motion, you're kind of rolling with it, and that's why it can be really hard to hop off or stop it, or change course or something like that. And again, this is like the physics, not just the metaphysics of things. But I think, yeah, there are so many timelines available to us, and we have so much more power than we realize. And a lot of it comes down, in my opinion, to truth. It's like these myths we're trying to tell us, or we're remembering when we hear them. And we this is one example, but it's like, what is a name in this story of Isis and Ra? Because to us, it's like, what is this? Is she wielding a serpent with dirt and spit? Like what? It's easy for our programmed minds to hear that and think, oh, that's just primitive nonsense. But it's like, the name wasn't a label. It was this organizing principle of a thing. To know someone's true name meant that you understood what motivates them, what they're actually protecting, what they might be afraid of or what they're afraid of losing. Like, what do people, systems, whatever, are they hiding to remain powerful or keep that image, right? It's like, so in relationships, it's like, what is, can you detect when someone's confidence is actually a fear of abandonment? Can you see charm as like a control strategy? Can you tell, right? Like when the strong one is actually just terrified of becoming irrelevant. And so they like play this character or put on a mask or, that's, I think sometimes what is happening with these systems or these authorities or things like that, and to realize like, we are all connected in this big web of how it's going to play out. And we all get to choose where we collapse the field by what we are focused on and where we place our attention, that current sea, the current of the sea, this big ocean that we all exist within. I don't want to get into, again, too many metaphors and riddles, but because that's usually how I'm talking, but there's so much, I mean, it's everywhere. And once you start to see it, you can't unsee it. And then you have to face it. There's like a wooden panel behind you. You want to back up. You're like, oh, wait. But you can't. We're on that timeline where it's like everything is exponentially sort of like accelerated at this point. And so, yeah, any system that's running on the urgency, the scarcity, the guilt, the dependency, all of that is going to like reveal itself with time. And yeah, what are we consenting to? What are we choosing to create and co-create with what is being presented to us in any given moment? Yeah. We don't have to. Does power come from coercion and force and chasing or explaining ourselves into exhaustion? That was like a big one of mine. If I don't have the whole picture to explain why I feel this way, I can't say it, right? Because people, like you're saying, could take we sound loony, right? You take this out of context and it's like, wow, do they know what's happening in Sudan? Do they know here? And it's like, yes, that's the whole point. Like we have to look and feel whatever is going to come up when we see those things. If I can't stop what I'm doing and grieve with the mother who just pulled her baby out of the rubble in Gaza, what am I doing here? Right? Like, again, what is the truth of how we want to operate, like, yeah, in this physical realm? What are we bringing into, the atom, the subatomic particles that are manifesting? Yeah.
Oh my. Um, Here's the first thing I want to ask you is this. The name of this show was Enheartened. And it's a concept that I've been exploring for myself in a different way. Maybe not that different. I see the dance between ascension of this and descension as, the journey we are part of at the moment. And that intersection between both, meaning reaching for the stars and also descending deeper into the void or the earth or the darkness, however you want to name that. I call that journey of descension. I mean, where they intersect to me is the heart. I see it as this kind of instrument of integration, and this is the reason why I named the show Enheartened, as a place that wants to support that practice of enheartenment, which is basically to invite the parts of us we've been conditioned not to love back into the heart. And I feel like collectively we are learning to do that, especially with the most ugly aspects of human consciousness or the expressions of the human psyche. And the question that is present right now is, what is the part of you that you are still learning to love? A part of you that you have a love-hate relationship with. When that part of you emerges, sometimes you get pissed off that it's there. Because I assume that as long as you assume physical form, there is a part
You
of
have
you
a
knocking
shadow.
at the door at the door of your heart.
Yeah.
Unless we would all be in a different realm.
Yeah.
Um,
I say
so
that all the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah,
That's the whole point, to be like, shadows are required to exist here. Like,
yes,
how would we know it? I use the light bulb analogy a lot. It's like, how does a light bulb know it's a light bulb unless something crosses in front of it to cast the shadow? It's like
yeah,
lit, it's there. And so, yeah, that's like one way I just operate under that assumption. Like, I've got shadows, you've got shadows. Like, I know and have studied, I've overturned those rocks in myself, like, over and over again. So I feel very aware of them, but it's like the constant re-meeting of those edges. And so there are so many, I guess, all that to say, there are so many parts of myself that struggling to love them. Yeah. The one that's coming to mind, or there are several that have popped in my head actually since I started talking, but the one that feels really alive is the part of me that that gives herself away, that abandons herself to steady the ship, to keep things afloat.
Yeah.
Because I've told myself a story about how it would be bad if the ship sank. Right? Or if this container collapsed. I've had to really look at leadership recently, and what it really means to me to be a leader, and to get a better understanding of like what leading actually looks like. And because I've never wanted to be a leader, like I don't, that's not what I want to do. Like none of what I do on a daily basis is anything like what I want to ever do. Like this, very much like a reluctant healer is how I've stumbled into this. And I think part of why it's taken me so long to use my voice in the way that it's that my soul has been inviting me to use it for a very long time. Yeah. And reconciling the grief of not speaking up sooner and not saying things because people have gotten hurt. And that's the part that is really hard because I move through under the assumption, like I build trust really slowly. I observe, I witness. But because of the way I present my shadow, I'm on the internet telling people that I love them. Strangers, like, hi, I love you. Like, that's a whole thing. If people have been following me for a long time, they know that's how and this like, and so there's an emotional attachment and it's genuine. Like I genuinely feel that and people know, you know what I mean? I'm not lying when I say that. I don't say things, but I don't lie like that. And so, what unfortunately happens is that I'm not attaching, you know what I mean? Like on an emotional level, because I'm still building trust in a slow way. But if I notice an incoherence or there's a lack of resonance or something, a distortion surfaces, sometimes, I mean, I have no problem with confrontation. I want to work it out. That's usually, but if someone can't meet me there, you know, like whether I say this is the boundary, like we've got to talk about this or whatever it is, I just withdraw energy. That's how I keep myself safe now, like in a healthy way. And unfortunately, then things collapse and that causes a lot of confusion, I think, for people. And usually what I find in the pattern is whatever they call me is their own mirror, right? Like, well, Erin's so selfish. Erin, she just left. It's like, no, that's actually like when you are labeling something outside of yourself in that way, you know what I mean? I think immediately if we're like, that's good, that's bad, she's right, she's wrong, like the false matrix has us. Like we're immediately in projection. Do you know what I mean? And so I think the part where I maintain like authority and operate within my integrity, it means I need to not abandon myself and not lie to keep other people feeling okay. Yeah, like that's like, it's very hard for me to admit sometimes like, oh gosh, like I was fawning or I was whatever I was needed to be done in order to maintain the coherence, but I was completely abandoning myself because I didn't know myself. I mean, I just told this story a couple of days ago. There was a point in my life after my divorce and when I was very much alone, I couldn't even finish a sentence without saying, I don't know. I am someone who loves to experience paradox. Like I like get off on it. I'm like, give me so many perspectives. Like, let me see if I can find the common thread. Like I love holding paradox in my body, but like making decisions. I didn't even know I could have preferences until I was maybe 30 years old. I would go to the grocery store and I would walk around for an hour and a half, 2 hours, not knowing what to eat for dinner because I couldn't make a decision. I was literally that much in my head, couldn't feel. So baby steps, I would go into like the mac and cheese area and I'd be like, okay, well, I don't like that color blue. I like that color orange. That's a start. And then we build off of that. I mean, it's literally baby steps sometimes to be like, don't abandon yourself because your truth and staying with you is actually going to be the most loving and empowering thing for the people that are closest to you because then you can show up like really sturdy and really strong and like empower other people to reclaim their sovereignty. Because that's what I was doing. I was decoding systems for a long time, these patterns of life as an analyst and as a kid too, right? So that these institutions could maintain order, so that they could continue to, evolve, I guess. But now I'm decoding systems, like the emotional, all these unseen sort of things, so that we can reclaim our sovereignty. And then those systems become obsolete in my mind, right? This like jail, the prisons and the war and the things. It's like, well, at a certain point, we won't need them if everyone's operating from a level of actual authentic sovereignty. At least that's the vision that I have. And maybe that's going to prove itself wrong or right. Who cares? That's my truth right now.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, the admission. I think admitting to a trait that we are still learning to love within ourselves is one of the hardest things to do.
Oh man, I could keep going. Yeah.
You know, yeah, but I think it's really
Yeah.
the level. It demands quite a bit of humility.
Oh yeah.
A great deal of humility and just like naming. It's again, you're going back to the metaphor you gave, which is the naming between Isis and Ra. It's like, oh, I need a name. And I find that to be very true with our own systems of healing. Something that I'm just going to name is you mentioned the aversion to leadership and how you've explored leadership as well within yourself. And I feel like there's this invitation to become the leader that your mission wants, that the spokesperson that your light wants at the moment, if you wish. So yeah, I love that so much. And I can only be an encourager, if that's a word, of that. I would say maybe the a question that I would love to finish with. I spent the biggest part of the last 2 years writing a book. It's called came out. It's called Scars of Gold.
I can't wait to read it. Yeah.
I'm curious. I assume that you've gone through a big load of shit. But I wonder, what is one wound that said to you, you're not just gonna merely heal me. Like, I am your initiation. And the moment I'm done with you, I'm going to turn into that scar of gold. What is that one for you? Oh, I mean, I suppose there could have been many, but if you were to pick one, which one would it be? A wound that turned into a scar of gold.
Yeah, so many. There's a lot of conversation, and it's really beautiful to see people discussing like the mother and the father wound these days. And just as an aside, I think that the mother wound is actually how like we pass on the wounded parts of the patriarchy. It's very insidious, the way that women and mothers especially like consent to, in very covert ways, like the patriarchal things that we say we want to abolish or dismantle and things like that. But for me, I think it was more of a father wound, and it's something I continue to work on all the time. I think what I experienced with the masculine from such a young age, and having my heart broken, and the trust that was eroded, it put me in a position. I mean, my whole life has been developing this like healthy relationship with my own masculine energy, and being able to hold not just the build and the consciousness, and to withstand the storm, be that conscious pillar, but to also like have the capacity to hold not just the storm, but the good as well. And a lot of my life has been reconciling and forgiving, and really seeing the truth of that wound and why it was created in the first place, right? Like, why wouldn't a man be able to look at sensitivity and witness it in someone else, especially something that he loves, right? And like that rejection of our own sensitivity. And I know for men, I think that is, it is like men are going through it. Like men are fucking going through it. And I don't think that we talk about it a lot, because yes, there is this rising of the subconscious, this feminine, this emotional side of things, the intuition. But I think in order to really embody intuition as an architecture, you've got to descent into the masculine wounds and build something that can hold the intuitive, that energy that wants to create and do all of that kind of thing. And so I
Yeah.
think, I mean, so there are like a bajillion wounds wrapped up in what I'm saying, like little micro wounds. But that's the one that I feel like has really put me through my paces for most of my life, I think, because I had such a distorted view of what it meant to be in my masculine. And I think I see a lot of, I mean, unconscious perpetuating of these distortions, again, from a good place and all of that kind of thing. But I think that that's something that's not talked about enough, and what it really means to embody these energetics, you know, and when it's appropriate, and how they balance or harmonize with one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't touched that you would want to bring up? Any question you would want to ask me? Yeah. Is there anything that you were like, I want to bring to this conversation that we haven't explored?
Feel really complete. I feel like I could talk to you forever, and I hope that I get that opportunity to do so again soon, because there are so many questions I'd like to ask you about you and your own story.
Hmm.
Yeah, and how all this is unfolding. Yeah, in the future. I don't think so. Yeah, no, nothing is jumping into my heart, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, I wanna thank you for so many things, for the kindred spirit,
yeah,
that you are able to bring to these conversations, to the depth. You know, it feels like your energy is just like the energy of this joyful, joyful child, just like it's
I
like,
get
oh,
that a
this is
lot.
my
Yeah,
playground. This is my
yeah,
playground. Like we're just gonna have fun over here. And so I just felt that, and I want to name it and celebrate it as well. And I want to direct people to your universe as well,
yeah,
and to what you're doing, to what you're creating, to the your podcast, Metaphysical Gravity. I think I is that
yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in
um
a bit of a latent state at the moment, but we're gonna start it back up, and yeah, we've got lots of stuff coming down the pike. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, with
but
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
how do people get into your universe?
Yeah. Right now, social media through Instagram is the best way. It's where I do most of my updates. And yeah, I host monthly soul symposiums via my Patreon. I'm hoping to transition those into in-person events. It's getting very
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
My vision for that. Because when we start interacting, with our biofields in person, and I'd love to reach out and get you on a panel, or, I just want to get people, thinkers, in a room, and maybe people who don't agree with each other, people who see the world very differently. I don't want to
Hmm.
create echo chambers. I don't want to create more, add to the cacophony of noise. I want people who are willing to tell the truth in emotionally regulated states, so that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And I host a lot of retreats. Again, I promote all of them on my social media right now and through my website. You can travel with me, because that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years, full-time traveling. And yeah, playing in the earth realm is, seeing it like a playground is literally what I say a lot of the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
All right. Yeah.
So, oh my God, I feel like I am, the spaceship landed, and I am emerging from the spaceship. I've loved the interaction. I just want to invite everybody, if you've loved this episode, I'm inviting you to go check Erin, and lean into her universe, lean into her work. It's been an ultimate pleasure to have you.
Thank
And
you
I
so
know
much.
I trust that we're going to meet again.
I hope so. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I just thought, just one more last thing. Getting back to this name thing, it's like when we remember our name, no one can own us. No system can own us. It's like you just have to know your name.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, we could talk a lot about your name. Maybe we will, the metaphysics. Next time I see you, yeah, we'll dive into that. Yeah.
I love that. I
I
love
love
that.
it too. Thank you so much. This is such a gift.
It's been a
Truly. Thank
pleasure.
you.
Okay.